Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Ashley Evans, and I have with me Sarah Edmonds. Sarah is
Hi.
a mental health therapist. Sarah, if you would, please introduce yourself. Tell the audience who you are and what is it that you do.
Hi, everyone. Well, as Ashley mentions, my name is Sarah Edmonds. I know on the screen it says Sarah Hairston, but that's my maiden name. I was recently married. Yes, I am a mental health therapist in Buffalo, New York. I have been in the mental health field for about 5 years or so. And I have worked with children, adolescents, families. I've worked with marriage. I've also have worked with a range of ages between 3 years old and 79 has been like my oldest client. I've
Wow.
worked in an agency. I've done case management work. And then I just recently decided to kind of step out of the agency and work towards doing my own thing. So you guys will be hearing about that very, very soon. Besides being a mental health therapist, I am also a coach. I am Sarah Edmonds. And a lot of people say, well, what is a coach? How can you be a coach and a therapist? Well, there's like one of the biggest differences. Therapy, I am able to diagnose you. I have the credentials to do that. Coaching is more so of when someone comes to you with a situation and they're looking for that coach to work through that process. So what I'm actually specializing in is empowering women to not lose themselves while being a businesswoman, while trying to have that work-life balance and making sure that they take care of themselves. But sometimes you kind of get lost with being in a marriage. So that is one of the things
Absolutely.
that I'm also focusing on. So the best of both worlds.
That is wonderful. And both are so needed. So thank you so much for having such amazing initiatives and programs and platforms because you can't get enough of self care. Oftentimes, women have a tendency to do too much, right?
Yes.
And when they do too much, they forget to take care of self. And if
Yes.
you don't take care of yourself, you
Woo.
can't take care of anyone else.
Yes.
So, Sarah, I wanted to come and have a good discussion on resiliency. As you know, we have been dealing with, just so many things in the world today. But one of the prevalent discussions and what we've all been experiencing to a varying degree of differences is COVID, you
Yes.
know? And so I wanted to talk about how to increase resilience. But before we talk about how to increase resilience, if you would, please explain to the audience what resilience is first.
So, in the simplest way, resilience is a way to adapt, deal with, manage, however you want to put it, with different situations. And that's one of the biggest things. A lot of times, just in life, it doesn't even have to be mental health. Adapting alone, you can be adapting to becoming a new mother. You can be adapting to getting hired as a new position. You can be adapting to learning how to drive your new car that you just brought off the lot. It's literally just adapting to life in the simplest way.
Absolutely. And, oftentimes life, when we transition into new roles and we transition into new experiences, be it being on a new job, be it, as you stated, becoming a new mother, or just any time you transition to something new. Life doesn't always give you a guide,
No,
right?
it doesn't.
Absolutely. But what we have to do is create our own guide. And part of doing that is increasing resiliency in our own lives, personally, at home, and at work. So, what are a few ways that we can increase our resiliency that you want to share with the audience?
One of the biggest things that I am big on is taking care of yourself, self love. And to be very transparent, I was just talking to my husband about this, about, like, what is your self-care? And it's shocking to me where my husband goes, I don't know, I go get a haircut. I plow the snow. And I'm like, there needs to be more. And sometimes people don't even get asked, how are they taking care of themselves? Because they're so used to saying, I'm good, I'm okay, I'm doing well, kind of like those poker answers to questions. And in reality is sometimes you want to dig deeper and really to say, how are you doing today? What do you need today? Have you even thought about what did you need? When was the last time you took a shower? When was the last time you read a book? When was the last time you took a walk? When was the last time you meditated? And a lot of people it's so overlooked. It's so overthought. Another thing is building connections. Build connection with people. And I know a lot of people say, well, how do you do that with COVID? Well, we got this great thing called technology. These computers.
Absolutely.
We got to make it work and do it how we live, because so many times we have things at our fingertips, but we come up with, I don't want to say excuses, but we come up with ways to deter it and say that we don't want to do it because we're trying to adapt to this new normal. So we have to adapt to be able to say, okay, I might not be able to go see so-and-so in person, but I know so-and-so got internet. I know so-and-so has a computer or a phone, they got a camera, and we're going to get this link together and we're going to be able to pour into each other. And that's
absolutely,
that's the resilience.
I love that answer. I want to go back to something that you said, which is key. You stated when you asked your husband, hun, what about self-care? What does that look like for you? Mm-hmm. And he said, I don't know, going to get a haircut. I love his answer because Black men don't understand that that's exactly what self-care is.
Yes.
Okay. And your husband got it.
Yes.
And so I am thrilled that he equates that with self-care, because in the Black community, oftentimes they don't understand that hanging out at the local barbershop is a community itself, yes. Right? That is where people have high levels of trust, whether it's the barbershop, the church, yes. The recreation center. That is where the Black community turns to talk to people that they absolutely trust. And so I'm so ecstatic that he considers that as self-care, because it absolutely is. And it's essential. Okay. Yes. And if you don't have these pockets of community in your back pocket or your backpack or your toolkit, then it can be a very lonely world.
Yes.
Okay. So what I would like is for more people to see the different support systems that we have in the world as an area or a place that they can turn to, when they're having a difficult time, as well as people like you, therapists. Yeah. Actually, I posted on that a couple of days ago how, if we already know that oftentimes in the Black community, people don't seek care in terms of mental health care. They don't seek care. And that's because there's a low level of trust for seeking care for mental health. Black Americans feel like there's a stigma associated with mental health care. And part of that could be because there's not many people within the mental health profession that look like them, that look like us. And so, how can we turn that around? It's by going to the barbershops.
Yes.
It's by going to the recreation center.
Yes.
It's by going to the spots that we know the Black community holds near and dear to our heart, the churches.
Yes.
And so anyway, it just excites me that your husband said that, because it's spot on with what I was talking about this week. So do you want to also chime in on how we can increase trust within the Black community as it relates to seeking care and instilling in them that we are a profession that does not look down on them for seeking mental care, but yet we see strength in them for seeking out mental health care.
Ashley, I'm so glad you brought that up, because as you was talking about recreation and you was talking about the haircut and you was talking about the churches, a light bulb went off. And it was literally, I was at a photo shoot a few weeks ago, just doing a photo shoot, minding my great little business. And I happened to tell the lady of color why I was doing this photo shoot. What was the purpose of this photo shoot? In regards to that, I then was like, I'm, a mental health therapist. I'm an empowering woman, life coach. And she goes, you a therapist? Like you of color are in the office with these people and you have these credentials and you're able to do this. And I'm like, yeah, I've been doing this for this many times. And I, kind of just talking to her in that casual conversation of having this photo shoot. I then realized that she had the biggest stigma of going to therapy. Wow. And it was because of, she felt like, how can I go into an office where I'm not going to see people that look like me? Wow. That can relate to me, that understands where I come from, and you're going to tell me what I need to do and you're going to fix me? And I was like, my God, I said, this is a perfect time for me to break and kind of help her understand the stigma that's going on. And I said, you know what? I'm just like you. I bleed the way you bleed. I'm human like you are, right? The only difference between me and you is that I went to school and I got some psychology knowledge up under my belt. But I'm a person just like you. And one of the big things that I tell people is that, you're going to come across some therapists that you're not going to relate to. Sure. You're just not. But that doesn't mean you don't give up. There is someone who you could relate to, and it always doesn't necessarily have to be of color, but it would be more amazing if there was more people of color in these agencies, or had private practices, or even spoke more about mental health. And as I started to work on that with her husband ends up coming in, and next thing I know, they were having marital problems. So turned in from being a photo for my business and turned into having a marital conversation with them and helping both of them to understand that it's more than just somebody coming to fix you, because I can't fix you, but I can give you tools. I can work with you. I can give you some knowledge that I have and some strength and some empowerment to work through whatever you're struggling with, and to understand that nobody's judging you when you come through those doors. That's one of the biggest things where I feel like I'm going to be judged, or I'm feeling like, how can this person tell me to do something and they don't even know where I come from? Sure. And that's something that I realized in this stigma. It's not too many of African Americans in these buildings. And it's as simple as even the person who's at the front desk sometimes doesn't look like them. So that's already a deterrent.
Sure. You're absolutely right. And we have to make, a difference no matter where we are. And I love the fact that although you weren't necessarily wearing your therapy hat at, the session, you were still wearing the therapy hat. Do you understand? Yeah. And I love how you potentially saved a marriage right there. Mm-hmm. You were able to pull out those tools and utilize those tools in helping them, with maybe their communication issues or their stigma, that they had about receiving care. And you potentially changed the framework of how they view mental health and seeking care. So I love that. And thank you so much for what you're doing out in the community. Thank you for your service, your work that you do. I applaud you in your work, and I ask that you remain steadfast in it. It is difficult sometimes, to give people the same vibrant care every single day, but it is so essential. Okay. Because if we can't essentially, leave one client and have that same, vibrant and excited, look for the next client, it could potentially affect our relationship with that client. And you seem to be the person that bounces back every single time. And I love that. The smile, the way that you greet people, it's all in taking care of a patient. So,
yes.
So glad that I was able to speak with you today.
Thank you.
And we will continue to come to you with various topics related to mental health. We're going to continue this until the stigma is no more. We appreciate you for tuning in, and we hope to see you next time. Thank you.